There we go. All right, see you soon. So in a moment, I will pass on to personal messages for people. In a short story, but I will concentrate on one aspect of that story. Then we'll have our healing list of names. And then we will proceed with some questions that will need to be answered. So to begin with, Jane, I must pass a message to you and say that the riddle that was posed to you last night will become clear once it's analyzed and the answer found, everything will fit together. There will be some evidence or clues, if you would like, which will come within a short period of time. It is not so much a riddle, but you will find the answer interesting. And I would also like to pass on a message to Matthew, who is not here today, but will listen. And that is, the analogy of the lake is correct. As long as there is no shore and no lake bed, and also that all there is a lake. And the creation that bubbles in this lake must still be within the lake and not bubble on the surface. As this would say that there is a lake and there is something above the lake. And that would then negate the story. So everything occurs within that body of lake. I'm sure you understand. So this story was passed on to a group recently. But it's only one aspect of the story that I wish to concentrate on, but I must give you a little more than that in order for it to be clear. And the story was given as a representation of those struggling with their meditation process. Of course, it is much more than just a meditation process, or this story fits with more than just a meditation process. It's also your spiritual path and your spiritual life. As I said, I will concentrate on one aspect at the end of this story. And Brandon, you may like this also. So when a baby begins to walk, it first struggles to its feet and perhaps tumbles before it even takes a step. But in time, the baby begins to lift a leg and take a single step and maybe falls then. There are times when the baby cannot stand, but eventually this becomes much more normal. And eventually the baby takes one step or two steps, and eventually 3 or 4 or 5. But during this process, there are many times that the baby falls over. Yet it does not give up. It stands another time and attempts to take another step. And it is rather like your meditation. There are times when you will fall and not be able to stand at all and tumble. Times you may take a step or two, but then tumble another time. Eventually, the baby begins to walk. But the part of the story I wish to emphasize is the role of the mother. Of course, you could say father just as accurately, but most commonly the mother. The mother speaks words of encouragement and holds a finger towards the baby so the baby may hold that finger for support, and will encourage the baby forward. And each time the baby falls over, there are words of saying, try again. You see, each time the baby falls, the mother does not say, I have a faulty baby. Rather, the mother encourages the baby onward. And each time the child falls over, and even if the child hurts itself, the mother is always there. And when that child struggles and perhaps does not achieve, the mother does not love the baby less, but rather loves the baby more. The effort, the determination, the success, and the failure open within the mother the beauty of love. So the failures of the baby or the struggles of the baby open the love within the mother. And the love becomes so consuming that the connection between the two becomes strong. One encouraging, one enduring. And the bond between baby and parent, at moments like this, no matter how difficult they are, then the mother loves the baby even more. The steps you take in your meditation, in your spiritual progress, do so like the baby. Stand up and walk and carry on. No matter how many times you think you fail, it is part of the learning, development, and progress. And the guide is there for you, holding a finger of support and saying, this way, keep going. Keep walking. And the love from the guide to the aspirant is even stronger. The guide does not say, I have a faulty student. So it is a good job you are not learning to walk now, because you may have given it up. Be like the baby. We are like the mother. Brandon, may I have the healing list of names, please?
I did enjoy that story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chantel and Meg, Kelsey and Pia, Rose, Mary, Jamie Dell, Terry, Helen, Howard, Anna and Jerry, Barbara and Beth Cleaton, Sheila Wilson, Katie C., Nigel and Michelle Clark, Amanda and Craig, Teresa, Ariel, Ed, Martin, Teresa T., Tim, Lorna, Mira, Leonie, Tracy, Eric, Stephen, and Matthew. Thank you.
Now, before we go to questions, I would like to come to one person in particular. And I feel the shudder. Michelle, are you with me and present? I feel you, so I believe you are here.
Yes, she's here.
Is he?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, can I ask you a question, my dear? I believe that you work with eyes. Would that be true?
That's correct.
And I should imagine that you see or experience people who come to you with cataracts of the eye
Yes.
from time to time. I should imagine it's not uncommon for you.
No.
Now tell me, when this occurs, you have someone with a cataract appearing towards you, then has their eyesight disappeared, or is their eyesight just covered by the cataract?
Covered by the cataract.
And if that cataract was to be removed, how long after that procedure would it be for someone to see perfectly normal again?
Immediately.
So within a matter of, a little time for recovery, but within a matter of a few minutes, would that be correct?
When they wake up, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you. I must pass a message to you here in a story form. Perhaps it's a little more than a message for you. You see, knowledge is hidden behind the veil of ignorance. So ignorance, of course, is like the cataract, and knowledge is like clear sight. And hidden behind that ignorance is knowledge which each individual can gain, can connect to. But each individual has a cataract. And the cataract, of course, is illusion and ignorance, if you want. You see, you work with physical eyes. I work with the third eye, the spiritual eye. So you cleanse away or remove the cataract of the physical eye, and I remove the cataract of the spiritual eye. Now, the spiritual eye, of course, is often represented by either the sun or the moon in a symbolic form. And the sun continues to shine, just sometimes it's hidden by cloud, or cloud is in the way. And with a simple touch, the third eye begins to open. And the clouds, if you want, or the cataract, or even the veil of illusion is removed from the third eye. And then the third eye begins to shine and glisten, rather like a jewel or a crystal, like a diamond, if you want. And the third eye of the individual begins its process of looking outwards and also looking inwards into the self. So the symbolic nature of this third eye is one that looks out, which within time, the mind must turn inwards and look at itself. So the process of awakening, according to Ramana Maharishi, is that at time, as man begins to look outwards and see the world, it must turn its consciousness inside and look within and find out what this word consciousness means to that person. Where does it come from? What is it? Where is it? Why is it? So there can be a simple touch or cleansing of the third eye and the awakening of the diamond of the third eye. And if this was to be done for someone, often they would dispute that this has occurred. Did I really experience that? And in experiencing or questioning the experience of this awakening of the third eye, they would seek confirmation or validation, because alas, the awakening of the third eye is not effective within a matter of minutes. It takes a little more time than the physical eye may. So there is a need for validation, confirmation. And this is far better given by an exterior means or method or vision or something else. And therefore, at a time, the person now has the ability to look out and the ability to look in. But the perfecting of this takes perhaps a little longer than your physical world. I trust, Michelle, you understand the message.
Yes, I do. And thank you very much. It helps a lot.
I think I've answered a question within your mind.
Yes, you have. Thank you so much.
It relates to another. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
I'm glad.
Thank you.
I do know that this is not a quick improvement in sight, in their spiritual sight. But it will take time. And the way it is to work most effectively is to relax and not try to do too much too quickly. So let us carry on. Brandon, I believe that we may have a question or two that I could assist with.
Is there anyone that has a question for our friend Ignatius? Milada?
Hey, Ignatius. No, I wanted to just ask if this weekend I had friends staying with us, and they're both very sensitive to spirit, although they're not practicing mediums. And one of my friends woke up in the middle of the night to get up for a moment, and when she came outside of the guest room, she saw a white, very tall white spirit standing in front of my spirit room. And I just thought maybe it was you, or maybe it was my grandfather. But a lot of us have been feeling your presence quite a lot lately, with all of the classes and your support for our spiritual development.
My dear, your grandfather was not known for his height, was he?
Well, not especially, not very, very tall. I would say average height.
Yes. Well, the presence of spirit around you and around your house is part of the spiritual experiences that have been promised to you. Not only has this energy been witnessed, but the faces have also been witnessed by you. The faces which have been confirmed and validated. You understand, my dear?
Yes.
Faces not just of, let us call it, loved ones, but faces of myself that you have seen. You understand?
Yes.
Perhaps you have not shared that, but those faces are present. My dear, I have promised you also of my love and my support. And there are times I stand in your presence quite confidently, and times I stand away, but still within your, well, I would be within earshot of you if you would like, but I stand there.
Mm.
So the witnessing of the spirit, the tall spirit, the white spirit, was in fact that myself standing waiting for you at your spirit room. It will always be there for you. At times, of course, it will be witnessed, and other times not.
Mm.
Felt at times within your dreams and within your moments of awakening within your dream space. It's a constant support, my dear, that is all. As often as you require.
Thank you so much.
Well, I would like to say a little something perhaps to others. Now, the conversations you alluded to, which were some groups which are gathering together for the realization of spirit, or their spiritual nature. Now, I talk specifically to two people that will understand. At the beginning of those sessions, on day one, I said that two people would have a large spiritual experience. Perhaps they would like to go back and either listen or read to what was said at that time, because that has occurred. And in fact, there are many people which have had increased presence of spirit. And I said before that most, or many, I should say, will start to get the recognition of spiritual contact and connection in various ways. Of course, some will have the connection in what you could say very minor ways, but these ways are not minor at all. Others will have quite grand experiences, which is what I allude to. That is also no different, but perhaps more recognizable than what we're determining or describing as mild experience. The awakening within each individual is occurring at the pace and the style of the individual. In but 9 weeks, many have had changes in their life and demeanor, and changes in their progress, their spiritual progress, and many have started a journey to awaken. Often those have described that their life is beginning to shift. And of course, there'll be many that will require more dedication and work. Hence the story of the baby and the mother. The 3 groups are working in 3 pathways. And the 3 pathways are very deliberate. The 3 pathways are very focused on one style of work, and that, of course, is the way it will be. Each person was picked for each group, even though they think otherwise. And in a couple of people's cases, it took a little bit of shuffling to put everything in order, but certain coincidences needed to happen for that shuffling to take place. Now, the spiritual experiences that are being witnessed are for all. They start today or start on a certain day, but will continue not for their benefit, but for others' benefit at a later date. They will explore their hearts, their minds, their lifestyle. Hence, the changes in the way they experience life and experience spirit. If you like, experience life, experience death. Oh, so important work. There are many people that we in spirit connect to. And there are many more that will come and will need a connection of spirit. And it must occur in ways which are natural and easy and the way that is meant to be. So there are awakenings happening and progress developing and modalities being perfected. For use in a short term and a longer term. There'll be those which will work one way and those which appear not to work at all, but will be crucial in the way spirit connects to the physical world. Of course, some personalities are destined to be in the front and some are not. That does not matter, as both sides are required. There's much more to come. Much more will be required. And much will be given so that they can do the work that is going to be so vital. So, Brandon, do we have another question?
Yes, we do. Wendy is next.
First, I'd like to just say thank you so much for the opportunity to ask a question. Last week, you spoke of the importance of the questions we ask. And my question is there a good question to ask that will progress our awakening? Perhaps open it quicker than it otherwise might open. Thank you.
What a lovely question. I thank you, my dear. I do not believe I know your energy as well as others, but I hope that it will be changing. So the first thing to realize is that once you have a true understanding of the nature of yourself, the spiritual nature, then there is no question required. So it's either like you sitting in peace, then there is nothing to ask about peace, because you are already there, and the question then is pointless. So your question is rather, how do you acquire this understanding and this knowledge? And you ask it in terms of, is there a question I could ask? So one that asks questions is generally one that seeks knowledge. The one that seeks knowledge is the one that seeks understanding. The one that requires understanding is the one that will begin the journey through mind and beyond mind. The question you ask is one to, is there a way of appeasing my mind that I may then step or sit, would be appropriate, sit in peace? So the mind then is seen as being busy. What is seen in the beginning as one that is helpful now becomes one that is in the way. And if you remember, the opening or part of the opening words was that knowledge is veiled by ignorance. So do you appease the ignorance, or do you step beyond it? So you can ask a question, and the question can be, rather than what do I need to know? Maybe, how do I sit in peace? So this is letting go of questions and letting go of mind, because the path of mind and knowledge will give understanding. But at some stage, the understanding must be let go and understood. Now, this may sound like a conundrum to you, one that lacks clarity, focus, determination, or even set instruction. But Wendy, my dear, within your being is all knowledge. And when you know, all you realize is you didn't know before. It's like when you truly fall in love, you realize that you have never been in love before. You have just thought you are. So I suggest to you that the knowledge that you are asking for is a way of appeasing your mind for your own satisfaction. And if you wish, you can follow that path. The other way is to find the point of peace within you and sit there. Have you ever, my dear, have you ever, sometimes with no apparent reason, have you ever been washed by a wave of love? Do you understand?
Yes. More than once.
It's like the wave of an ocean, isn't it? That just washes over. And it may stay with you for a short period of time. And then you crave it to come back. You understand this experience, don't you?
Yes.
Where is knowledge required then? May I suggest that path of love is the way? I would rather like the mother story. The mother loves the child more through its suffering, its difficulty, its trauma, its pain, its struggle. The mother loves the child more each time it falls over rather than less. Love is the answer, love is the way, and love is the fountain of youth, if you would like, that sits deep within your being. That is where you should sit. And if you sat in love and you gave love away, and you loved all, and you showed people how to have this wave of love, and your life would be rich, rewarding, and you'll be surrounded by many friends and acquaintances, I am sure. If you followed the way of knowledge, of course, there would be teaching that you could give. There'll be appeasing of mind that you could pass on. But the way of knowledge points back to love. Because the knowledge attempts to bring people together through its exploration, where love just does it without any effort. So your question you may ask would be, how do I sit in love or peace? Whichever's the appropriate word for you. Each one of them, love or peace, shines beyond the body and requires no effort. And all that man struggled is a struggle for no effort. And often they say, well, I wish I didn't have to try so hard. I wish I didn't have to do this or that. Just sit in love. And then the knowledge comes. The knowledge that comes is how to share that love. How is it best? And it will share automatically, but the physical form will require, how do I give it away? And you will know then what it is you should do. So you see, this is the spirit having its way. The spirit of love, or the love of spirit, will have its way through your life, will be expressed into the physical world in all ways at all time. And every person is desiring to go there. That is your home. As you feel it, you should stay there, and it will show you what to do. Do you understand my answer?
It's a perfect answer. It's a wonderful answer. When I ask my purpose in life, the only answer has always been to love. So for me, it's the perfect answer. Thank you.
Well, isn't that a coincidence? I thank you for your question. You have assisted others in asking it. Brandon, do we have time for one more?
That was a wonderful question and a beautiful answer. Yes, we do. Michelle?
Hey, Ignatius. I just had a quick question. When we dream, our consciousness is still in our mind. And then when we in our dreamless state, our consciousness is out of our mind and into the self. And I noticed, as I've gotten older, that I don't dream like I used to. I wake up without dreaming at all. I didn't know if that was just a, aging process of the brain, because, I think that way sometimes, which is unfortunately in the mind. Or is it just a progress of the losing the mind? I just not really sure what the answer would be to that.
Let me give you perhaps an answer, which will refer back to another story at a previous time. And this answer has far greater understanding beyond your question. Some time ago, I said, imagine hanging 7 pieces of tissue so they hung vertically. And at the end of one tissue, you would shine a light, and the light would go through one tissue, through the next, etc. So the light that is in the 7th tissue, or just beyond the 7th tissue, is a pale light compared to the bright light that is at the other end. Can you picture my picture? Do you understand where we are? So
Yes, I understand what you're saying. Correct.
So the light at the other end is exactly the same light as what is shone in its full intensity. Now, the tissue here are the veils of ignorance, if you want. And the ignorance is rather thick. And this is, if you would like, the mind or the karma that one must walk through to get nearer to the full expression of the light. And as one does the work, the aperture in the tissue starts to open, and more light or more pure light begins to flow through. So between the physical world, the next world would be considered to be the astral world, the world of mind, the world where mind happens instantly. So the dream state then is also all about the mind clearing and the aperture opening and the person living from whatever the next realm is, or the next layer, the next dimension, whatever word you would like. So 2 things are occurring here, and that is the physical self is being left behind. The aperture into the next world is starting to become wider, the light into the physical life becomes brighter. And the dream state of the person gets less attached to the physical world and more attached to whatever the next world is. So the consciousness is then focused on level 2, if you understand. Level 2, of course, has its own veil that must be moved past. So the light is the same. The light is represented by the truth of the spiritual person. So when a person connects to a guide, the guide, of course, is just a different expression of the same light. So the widening of the aperture within the tissue, the widening of the connection, means that the guide then can make his presence or her presence known. And I say his or her quite loosely. Occasionally, then a certain person would awaken an aperture through multiple levels of the tissue. And in that case, then a guide with a larger amount of knowledge and understanding would express. So let us say from level 3 or 4 would manifest into level 1, where normally it would be, let us say, just level 2 into level. But they are still an expression of the same light. So your spiritual work is doing 2 things. First of all, it is cleansing the tissue, if you would like, which is no more than, let us call it karma, mind, memory, ego. And in cleansing it, it allows more light through, like an aperture. So your physical life becomes more full of what is being described as spiritual light. In your dream state, then your ability to access whatever the next level is for you becomes easier. And so then the astral world becomes more accessible to the physical world. Remember, it is all the same light. The nearer you get to its source, the more intense and brighter it is. So the guide, again, of the same light, is generally one level above wherever the medium or the physical person is. But occasionally, it may be levels above that as well. So for the great masters, if you would like to use that word, they may be on level 6 or 7, but for some reason, the apertures have been opened to such a degree that level 6 or 7 being is manifest in level 1. And then you get some of the great teachers which have come to this world. So the act of meditation, if you want, and other acts, cleanse the karma, widen the aperture, allows more light into the physical being and around physical being, and the connection from higher knowledge, if you would like that phrase. That can come in the waking state or the sleep state. And as you are one in particular that enjoys to know, let us say, something a little deeper and a little more understanding, then your natural way is to raise your consciousness from the matters of the physical to whatever you wish to see or witness at the next part. To think of the tissue as a veil, if you would like, a barrier, a karma, understanding. But you are still the light, not the embodiment, not the tissue. So hence, you live in all realms, in all dimensions, all at the same time. You live on level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And please do not use the numbers, but they are just for the story. Because the light shines through every layer of tissue. If you would prefer, the love flows through every tissue, and your work of loving opens the tissue to the next level, and the intensity gets stronger. How was that answer?
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Did I pass the test?
I'll give you a A minus.
A minus.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. A plus.
I know, my dear. I appreciate your question also. Now, as I said, the answer was a little bigger than your question. I hope it provides clarity.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Brandon, do we have time for one more, or is our time now complete?
Our time is now complete, and we all await for your return after some time off. Thank you, my friend.
Well, I will return for these sessions. I believe it's the very last day of July. I suppose that depends where you sit in the world. I ask you all to do one thing. And I think Wendy summed it up, or the answer to Wendy. And that is, sit in the love. We will continue our series of talks. And our topic next time will be relationships. Well, there's an interesting connection. If you ask, I will be with you. God bless you all.